Still in Israel, where the IDF top brass is reportedly troubled by the effects of the protest movement on the Israeli military. In a meeting held Sunday, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant was warned by senior officers of the potential damage to the operational capabilities of the IDF and that of Israel's Air Force in particular. This as there's been an increase in threats of refusal to report for active or reserve duty in defiance of the government's judicial overhaul plans. In recent days, they have also been joined by soldiers from elite units such as the IDF Sayeret Matkal unit, as well as doctors and reservists in the intelligence division. The most immediate problem discussed was that the pilots in the reserves, without whom the effectiveness of the IDF will be significantly damaged, since the regular squadrons rely on the reserve personnel. Local Hebrew reports are saying that Gallant and IDF Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi are considering speaking in the coming days with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to relay the concerns over the potential negative impacts on military readiness. And with me now in studio to discuss this further is our defense correspondent, Jonathan Regev. Jonathan, good morning to you. No official numbers have been given as to how many active soldiers and reservists are involved in these protests, but clearly having an impact on national security. Yes,
and to the point that, as it seems, the Chief of Staff is worried about it. As far as we understand from that meeting which you mentioned, there is no operational damage yet. But it can happen. If this trend continues, it can happen. We know that a lot of the people participating in the protests are reservists from elite units, Air Force, commandos, and so on. They are allowed, of course, to participate in protests as they're basically civilians when they come to the military. They're reservists. Many of them volunteer to the reserves. You can demand a reservist to come to his unit when he's called. You cannot demand volunteers to keep on volunteers if they do not wish to do so. The notion is still that in times of emergency, if Israel goes to war, then everybody will come. But of course, the role of the reservists is not only in times of war. There's training, there's the general feeling, and that general feeling is of course beginning to be very negative and sensitive within the army itself.
And just in the last minute that we have before the break, are Israel's enemies taking note, particularly on our northern and southern borders? Surely this can be seen as a vulnerability.
I would not be surprised that Hezbollah is taking more chances in the last few months. Hezbollah is looking at this as a point of weakness within the Israeli society. They may be right with this. They may be right that the Israeli society is in a weak point. I think they're absolutely wrong if they think that this is the right time for war. If war breaks out, everybody will join the ranks, and Israel will inflict terrible damage to Lebanon and to Hezbollah. Having said that, yes, this is a weaker point inside the Israeli society, and Hassan Nasrallah is someone who's very attentive to everything that is happening within Israel.
Defense correspondent Jonathan Regev, thank you for being here with us this morning.